What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about my first impressions and thoughts on the Foglands. Now this released quite a while ago now, a few months back, and I did actually get a key for it launch, but I just heard all these different negative things about its sort of launch state, so I kind of steered away from it, but I still had an eager eye to wanting to get into it because it did look like my type of game. And the game has had quite a few patches now, especially on the PlayStation VR 2 version. The Quest platform is still waiting to get its full update, and I believe they'll be probably making a Steam version at some point as well. Don't have experience with how it launched. I'm talking only how it is now, and that is with the patch 1.03, I believe. And it seems like they have made a lot of improvements from what I've been hearing people say. So essentially, the Foglands is a roguelike game set in a weird Western sort of mining time. I don't know. Essentially it's set in the future, I assume, where this fog has just swept the land and there's creatures and monsters and you have to live in these mines and sort of survive. So essentially what you have to do is you have to go deep into the mines and take on plenty of enemies. I'm not sure if the maps are procedurally generated. I believe they're not, because they all seem similar. I think just the enemies and different things and elements in those maps are generated each time. So you have to go down there, collect supplies, and then take on some bosses as well. So each time you go in there, you can collect scrap and talk to a vendor, and then you can submit the scrap and then you keep that for your next run. But if you don't do that, you kind of lose everything. So every time you go into it, you need to make sure you're picking up a weapon before you do, because I've gone in there a couple of times and forgot to buy a weapon and I had to just punch my way out. But I really like the style of the game. Like I said, it's got a weird Western feel to it. There's a character called the Stranger, and he's the one who basically tells you all the lore of it, and he's basically a zombie cowboy dude who plays with tarot cards. So it's a really cool vibe, and it's got a mixture of multiple different types of games in there, but I do like the way that they have this kind of zombie cowboy showing you the ropes. There's probably quite a lot to this game which I haven't explored. I've only played maybe 2.5 hours of it, but I think it's really got me hooked into it. Just the vibe of going into this mine each time and trying to get further and further. It's got a fun gameplay loop. So I haven't tried many of the different weapons as well, because for the first maybe hour I kept dying over and over again, which is part of the game. You're just learning and learning until you get good enough, and I feel like towards the end of my runs in the 2.5 hours I've played, I was starting to get better. I was starting to recover the scrap and then have a lot left over to try and upgrade my character. So there's also these tarot cards that you can find in the game as well. You have keys that you can lock them, and I'm not sure entirely if they are permanent things that are passive that you can keep all the time, or they're just once per run. I think they are probably all the time, because once you unlock it, it always just stays there in this locker. But also during the runs you can find rooms where you can find new tarot cards, and you have the choice to pick between 3 of them. So it adds this whole roguelite element to it, where each run you're finding new things which could give you like a really good chance at taking down the boss and making your way through, or you could get a really bad luck and just have like nothing useful. I'm really looking forward to jumping back in and just seeing how far I can get and unlocking some more of these powers, and see if it really does help you in the long run when you're going back into this with more knowledge and more powers, how easy it does become. I did have a quick go on the Quest version, and like I said, it's not had its patch yet for the Quest 3, so it is a little bit rough on there frame rate wise, but on the PlayStation VR 2 now with this patch, from what I played, it was relatively smooth and it looked pretty nice. The characters look really nice when you're up close to them. It really shows like the texture and the colours with the HDR when you are, especially when you're talking to the Stranger in the train. One sort of thing that I feel like could be improved is the enemies. The enemies, the way they look, it does look a little bit dated in comparison to looking at the Stranger close up. I think that's just because you see so many of them, and they've got to generate all these and how it runs smoothly on the PlayStation, that some of the textures are pretty low res. It kind of reminds me of something like from the Doom BFG edition, Doom 3, just I don't know, like the way the models are. I feel like they could be improved. But overall, like, it's still a fun time, and I hope they do just keep working on this game. One thing I would say is I wish it did have co-op. Originally I did think it was a co-op game, but it is a solo roguelike. But I feel like if there was a co-op mode to this, it would definitely bring a lot more people into it, and a lot more people would sort of play with friends and either work together or work against each other to try and get high scores, and just like seeing what different loadouts everyone can get. I do think a multiplayer would work great in this. That's if they could get it running. The melee combat is a slight downside to it, because I didn't really use too much melee because I usually just had my revolver, but when I did have a wrench or was trying to use my fists, it seemed like if you were standing stationary, you could usually hit them once and it would work great. On other occasions you would try and hit them like multiple times and it only registered like the first attack, and that was a bit off-putting. It just made me not want to use melee. I feel like if that was, you know, really the hit points and that were really good, I feel like you'd be more inclined to go in there with like pick up hammers and stuff and just like bash these enemies. But when it's not working so well, it really just makes you just want to stay at a distance and use your weapons. There's lots to love about the game, there's lots of things that could be improved, and hopefully they do keep improving on the game. But overall, yeah, having a great time playing it, and yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it, and I kind of want to go back in and play some more just to see how far I can get. So these have been my impressions on the Foglands. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think about the Foglands. Have you played the new patch? Are you playing on the quest? Yeah, let me know all of your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video.